6 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Thank you for being here for our regular business meeting on April 27th, 2021. We're rolling quickly into the end of the school year. It's hard to believe we're down to, I was counting today, I think it's 33, 32 more days of school left. So it's coming up here very quickly. So we'll go ahead and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would join with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so we'll move to item 2, which is the adoption of the agenda. Have school board members had a chance to look at the agenda? Are there any comments or questions or a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda for April 27th.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for April 27th. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The agenda is adopted. So moving on to the community comments section of our meeting. I'll go ahead and read our statement that we have for this. As a part of the regular school board meeting, the board invites community members to make public comments in person and or by phone as conditions allowed by calling the phone number and entering the meeting ID as posted on our website. Our public comment procedure allows each person 3 minutes to speak, and comments will be heard during the 2 community comment periods as listed on the agenda. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not on the agenda. The board may direct the superintendent to follow up on certain items that arise during public comment if appropriate. As with in-person meetings, public comments received in writing or by email will not be read aloud, but will be directed for follow-up where appropriate. Please be mindful of how you present your testimony, as the board will not allow complaints against an individual staff member or student in an open session, unless that individual has requested an open public hearing. Please state your name before speaking. All right, Bob, so could you remind us all of the directions for hand raising and unmuting and all of those things?
For those people who have called in, it appears we have one. You are currently muted. To unmute yourself, press *6. To request to speak, please raise your hand, which is *9, and you will be called on at the appropriate time.
All right. So at this time, is there anyone who would like to make public comment? All right. I'm not seeing anyone raise their hands, so we'll give another couple seconds here, because I know sometimes technology is not always our friend in the world of Zoom. All right, well, there will be another opportunity for public comment later in our agenda. So we'll go ahead and move on to item 4, which is reports and recognition. And our first item tonight is item 4.01, which is recognition of Sierra Pacific for their donation to the Met Academy. And Alex,
yes.
Like you're presenting this one.
Yes, thank you, Sally. First of all, thanks, Lisa, for being here with us. On behalf of the Shelton School District, I would like to recognize Lisa Perry, who is responsible for community relations for Sierra Pacific Industries here in Shelton and beyond, for their overall contribution to our school district and community. We greatly appreciate the $25,000 donation in support of our new Manufacturing, Engineering, and Tech Academy, the MET. That's a wonderful contribution to get things started. This donation continues and supports our ongoing collaborative relationship with a great industry in our community. I'd like to give a special thanks to Lisa Perry, who has contributed to us in many, many different ways in terms of her participation in school district meetings and championing Shelton within the Shelton community and beyond. Lisa, thank you for everything that you do for our school district. We appreciate you and Sierra Pacific Industries.
Thank you so much. And we appreciate the fact that not only you, Dr. Apostle, but Don Wheelander and Dina Alley and everybody have taken the time to really figure out that we have wonderful career opportunities in our mill. You know, those green energy jobs that everyone talks about. It's not your grandfather's mill. So the Med Academy programs and our staff has really enjoyed working with your staff to make sure they meet our job requirements for the future. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Lisa. And the future is very bright. No question about it. Don, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to thank, both Lisa Perry, Sierra Pacific, and also Corey Harris. They reviewed and gave advice on the equipment that we're purchasing for the Met and the stations, as well as curriculum advice. And above and beyond the donation and their time that they have spent on the Met, I want to thank them for their expertise, their knowledge that they offer to the district in advisory boards. I know Lisa sits on my regional advisory board, and I know that Corey sits on the construction advisory board. And it takes a lot of their time to take and help us and give us good advice so we can continue running the schools the way we do. And I just really, really appreciate it because, what we ask for is time and knowledge, and they are more than willing to give it. I know Lisa's went to great lengths to find people in the mill down here and beyond to help me with the job that I do on a daily basis. And I really, really appreciate it.
No question about it. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Lisa, you've been such a champion for our school district and for the community of Shelton. I know you haven't been long in the community, but you've been an integral part, and we appreciate all of your support and how you're making a difference for our kids and as a result for our community. So thank you very much. This is the $25,000, and your time and your knowledge is very valuable. But beyond that, we just thank you for the continued support that you give our school district. Any other board members like to make comments?
I also just want to say thank you very much, both to Sierra Pacific, through Lisa and others. It's been a great partnership, and look forward to all the new opportunities that'll be coming along and continuing to work with Sierra Pacific in the future.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Go ahead, Lynn. You go, Lynn. I'll go after you.
I'll just echo what my fellow board members have said. And, Sierra Pacific and you specifically, Lisa, have just been such a gem for our community and, continue to provide a benefit. And we're just so excited to have you guys as part of our community.
Yes, thank you so much, Lisa and Sierra Pacific. I think what you said, this is not your grandfather's mill. That's so exciting. And I think that, any opportunity that we have to let our community know about how that's different and what jobs those are, that's just going to make our students even more excited. And I think that this is just so wonderful to see this happening in the time that I've been on the school board. All the school board meetings that we go to, we've seen different community partnerships, and to truly see, more and more of this build within our own community, to have students come out and be able to get a job that helps serve in a community that they love being in is just a fantastic win-win. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for your support on the Met, and not only the Met, but being with Sierra Pacific and jumping into our community and just becoming a real part of it. I know I also sat on the board with Lisa on the PEI board, and that's a huge part of some integral lessons and integrated approach of who we are and where we're from, and that's throughout our whole district, from the kindergartners all the way up. So just do really appreciate you championing the efforts for all the kids. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Apostle. Thank you, Lisa, for being here tonight and for all of your continued support.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to item 4.02. This is an update on our alternative learning programs, of which we have many, and Stacy is going to give us an update on that.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to come speak to the board regarding alternative learning experience programs. As most of you know, ALE programs are funded a little differently through the state than are our traditional education programs. And this year, Choice High School and Choice School 7th and 8th grade has been functioning completely funded under ALE, which is great because it gives us a little bit of enhanced funding, actually. Students in ALE programs have the opportunity to work at a more self-paced than in the other schools. And in normal years, when we're not in a pandemic, it's one of the few places where students can do that virtual learning that some of them really want to do. So for next year, we plan on continuing along with Choice, of course, and having all of our students funded under the ALE laws, which gives us a lot of flexibility in scheduling. Our current policy is that our students at Choice need to attend school at least 10 hours a week, although for some of them we require more. If a student is not doing well at their monthly check-in, which they must do with their parent and guardian every month and their advisor, they have interventions put into place. And sometimes that requires more schoolwork. It might require that they meet with a True North counselor. There's various different things that can be required. So as you already know, Choice is running under that model, but what we are looking at to adding next year is a true online option for our students. So we will have an online virtual school available, and that is going to be for any student who wants to be 100% online. We've started up a committee to work on that, and with Marianne Marshall and Kelly Neely and a few other people, we're really getting that put into place right now. So a few of the things that will be different is students will be able to go 100% virtually. Right now we have a survey compiled, which should be going out probably tomorrow to see how many families are interested in this option. We know that with the pandemic, some families really are going to want to stay online, and they might have just found it was a good option for them. This school will be targeting students who have had success with online learning and they really see themselves as independent learners, and also people who have a strong mentor at home. It will help students who need flexibility in their schedule. We are investigating curriculums right now, and we're in the process of applying to OSPI for permission to run this program. We also will be meeting soon with counselors. That's happening on Thursday, and doing a survey for the teaching staff to see what their input is onto this idea. So like Choice, every student will have an individualized written student learning plan. Shelton School District teachers will be instructing them. They will not have to be on campus at any particular campus during any time. And the school will be, the program will be independent from any of our other high school options. So that's kind of the brief overview. We have talked about a few things that we haven't had the opportunity to go into details with, such as, you know, what kind of split enrollment could a student have between the different high schools or even middle school if they wanted to take something that's not offered online, like especially ROTC or choir or something like that. We want to provide those options for students. It will still be run under ALE law, which will give us a lot of flexibility. And right now we're really in the investigation of the curriculum stage and getting all of our ducks in a row to meet up with Terry and talk to the unions about how this might affect them and make sure all the components are ready to go for the fall. So that's the brief overview. There will be a more thorough presentation for you all once we have a little bit more concrete details. We want to keep you updated. Does anybody have any questions?
So will this be K-12, like kindergarten through 12th grade, or are we looking at middle school through 12th grade? What are we thinking in terms of grade bands we would serve?
That is the big question, Sally. So one of the things we're doing with the survey, which we're launching tomorrow for families, is we really want to see what the interest level is at those lower grade levels. We don't want to say we're not going to offer a particular grade level if there's lots of families that are interested. That being said, we know that online learning is often a little easier for the older students than the younger students. So we want to wait and make a really informed decision about the lower grade levels. At this point, we definitely plan on having 6th through 12th grade, and more than likely 3rd through 5th, but we're still really thinking about that K through 2. Kelly, I don't know if you want to address more to that question or not.
You hit it exactly on my head. We really want to see what the parent interest is. For the K2 kids, it's sometimes more difficult. If a parent isn't sitting right there beside them, it's going to be really hard. And I see Sally nodding your head. I know you have experience with this sort of thing, and so we're just really trying to be cautious about the K2 group, and maybe even a little bit about the 3-5. But K2 is where I've just been treading pretty gently right now. We'll let y'all know how the survey turns out.
And we do have several elementary principals who've been contributing to the ideas for this, along with representation from the different grade levels. So we want to make sure the whole district is represented so that we make the best possible decisions. Any other questions?
So will this be different from, or will the district offer 100% online options through any of the other schools, or is this going to be if anybody wants 100% online option, this is the option they'll go with? Okay.
Yes, yeah, I see Stacy nodding their head. Yes, this is our option for that. And so, Sandy, we're working really, really hard on looking at different brochures and maybe some videos and some Q&A so people understand the difference between what we have done this year with our teachers here, and then what the difference would be for here with this completely online piece. There is more support needed from parents for the online piece, especially for the little kids, which is what we were just talking about. So yeah, it's completely different, and we hope that we won't have to be like in a blended or completely online, for the whole district. So yeah, this is our new venture. This is it.
There is a difference, between the ALE program and if we were to launch an online academy. In a meeting today with Chris Reichdahl, the expectation, if we were to launch an online academy, would be that it would be much more robust than what we've seen in the past, and that it would have to offer the entire curriculum along with activities that other students who are in-person learning would have. So that's something we need to consider, because I know we've talked about ALE and an online academy, but the expectation from the state and internally within our district is that it would be much more robust. So those are things that we're in the process of discussing.
So I just want to make sure I heard this right. So if we have students that want to go totally online anywhere in our district, then this is the program they go into, and they will enroll in choice.
So the plan is not for it to be choice. Choice will be separate. That's why I was saying that the ALE program would be separate that we currently have for choice. Now, because it takes a long time to get a new school code and run a whole new school, as we know, like we did with Cedar, for next year, the plan is that in the behind the scenes and Skyward, yes, it'll be affiliated with choice as far as our coding and things for the first year, but it's not going to be a choice school or program. We've been talking about it being open to kids from any school in the district. And one of the conversations we'll need to pull together with Bruce and Amber Hosford is which diploma would the students get if they do graduate from this school? We want them to be able to have an option of either a Shelton School District diploma or a diploma that says the name to becoming of this school, but we don't want it to be a choice program like the other ALE programs are. It really is designed for anybody in the district, and we know that choice has a certain population that we really serve very well, but this might be a very different population. It could be a lot of homeschool families that have homeschooled in the past, or families that just really found success during the pandemic in online learning. And we don't want necessarily families to think they have to go to a quote alternative school, as much as I love alternative schools. Families shouldn't have to make that decision if they want to go an online route. That being said, we also felt it was not the strongest idea to have every school in the district running their own little online program that might have very different requirements. We also wanted to stick with Shelton School District teachers. The last online venture that the district did, we actually contracted with a company that ran their teachers And we found that that wasn't quite as successful for our students. And we really believe our teachers can do a great job of this.
So
Excellent. That makes me very happy to hear that, Stacy, that part that you just said about using our own teachers. So would we, I guess, and it might be too early to know this since we're just in initial planning stages, would these be teachers that also taught in the classroom and then maybe did 1 or 2 classes online, or are we expecting them to be dedicated online teachers?
We'd like them to be dedicated online teachers, Sally. We want them to be the experts in this area and not have themselves, put between 2 different worlds. And so that's what we're going with right now. Now, how that turns out and how many kids we have enrolled, what grade levels they are, that sort of thing, nobody knows right now. So as soon as we start getting the information back from the parents, then we'll move forward with more of those decisions, but they are our teachers.
One of the things that's on my task list, my early timeline of tasks here, is to get together with Terry and Marianne and Kelly and whoever else, Brenda probably, whoever we need to have there, to talk a little bit about, once we do know how many teachers we need, how would we go about opening those positions and making sure teachers know that that's what they would be applying for. We really want experts in online teaching. We've really found this year that we have some great teachers that do great online, and there's other teachers that have found they never want to do it again and they just want to be in the classroom. But my experience is that those people that do really well online, it's just better not to ask somebody to split unless we absolutely have to for staffing needs.
And I know, Stacy, this may also be too early because you said that the curriculum part of it, you're in the process of trying to figure that out. So that wouldn't necessarily be a platform, or would it be like the Google Classroom and it's, Shelton curriculum that's tailored towards that instead of like one of these other kind of built-in online programs? We used K-12, or there's, Connections Academy, or there's these other online platforms that already exist. I guess how does, since I'm not working myself in the world of education, it's hard for me to know all of the ins and outs of this. So I would love to know how that works.
So our plan at this point is to go with one of those curriculums that's already basically set up online. Perhaps Fuel used that in the past. We are really deeply looking into the K-5 options because OSPI has a list of about 20 approved providers for online curriculums. And what I'm doing right now is going through each of those, reading to see what grade levels they support. And then we'll be bringing a smaller list back to our committee meeting on Thursday to say, these are the curriculums we might want to consider for K-5. But we don't necessarily, as much as I think our teachers are amazing, I've seen great stuff out of Google Classroom this fall or this year. We want to start with something that's pretty standardized so it's easy for the kids to jump into and they're consistent with it. And as this program goes on, we might find the teachers want to customize more and more of it. But for now, we're talking about starting that way. Kelly, did I express that correctly?
Yeah, you did great. OSPI has regulations around this. So we have to go with one of their approved methods. And it's not, you can't just build your own through this. But as we move along, who knows what could come out of it. There's always room for some teacher creativity and adding to it and layering in, which I know I talked to Sally about this. You have to do that. With any program, you have to do that. So yeah, we're just, we have 20 to choose from. So that's where we'll be.
Okay, thank you. That helps give me an idea, and good luck with looking through all of those.
Yeah, with ALE law as well as online school law, they're very definitive about you have to use one of the OSPI approved providers, or you can submit for your own approval, but that takes a lot of work to get a whole curriculum approved for online.
I just have a question about communication and getting the word out. Because for anything that's new, but even for things that have been around for a long time, we have families, whether they've been here forever or new, still don't have an understanding of what the options are. So, I've been working with a family that their 2 kids just enrolled at, I think one's at Choice and one's at Cedar. And they're going like, We wish we would have done this 2 years ago. We just didn't even understand it or know this. So as a district, how do we support getting the word out to our community?
Well, Sally, I think that's an excellent question. I mean, that's something we constantly kind of run into here, having worked at Choice and now with Amber running Cedar. You know, how do we make sure people know about these great options? So we have multiple ways. We have brochures. We're putting together websites. Amber just put together a great video for Cedar. For this online school, we'll be doing all those same promotional things, but I do think we need a district communication plan that Katie's helping us with to make sure people know all of the options. And one thing Dina Alley put together recently was kind of a list of the different high school programs offered so people could see what was offered on one page. So I'm sure we'll add the online school to that, because you're right, it's all about getting the word out there. And on my timeline, my hope is to have applications ready for this program by May 15th, which is a pretty fast timeline, but we want parents to be able to, you know, get their applications in for it and know that that's their option as soon as possible. And we really want to get out and talk to teachers, and we're planning on a survey with the teachers because everybody needs to know what's happening for next year as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure we'll do a public forum or two as well, Sally. So that can help, and we'll do it in both Spanish and English.
And I've been asked to talk about it at the forum on Thursday night, so that will be kind of the first talk about it. But it is important for people to know that we are in the planning stages and we're moving quickly, but we don't have all the answers yet.
Additional comments or questions for Stacy? Go ahead, Alex, you're on mute.
I just want to thank Stacy for volunteering to take this on in terms of ALE. We know that she's very knowledgeable in this area, of course, but she's taken the step forward to oversee the program, and I feel very confident she's going to do an excellent job.
Thank you, Dr. Apostle.
Thank you.
All right. I'm super excited we're doing this. So thank you very much, Stacy, for spearheading this.
Thank you all.
All right. So moving on to item 4.03, looking at our summer program this year with Kelly and Marianne.
All right, we are excited about our summer programs. As you know, every year we offer academics, but we are also going to focus in on our social emotional students. So Kelly, if you could move on to the next slide.
I sure will. I think. There we go. So what we have right now and what we're moving forward with is current kindergarten through 8th grade students. So they would be the kids going into 1st grade and into 9th grade next year. We have June 21st through July 15th. It's a Monday through Thursday, half day. That's kind of normal. That's what we've done in the past. What is not the same is that we are looking at doing project-based learning that is both student and teacher designed. So they look at real world problems. This goes all the way from kindergarten on up. There's a problem that they need to solve, a solution that they need to come up with, a product they need to make. One of the examples was talking to folks in retirement centers and maybe seeing is there something that can make their life easier? So the team works on that. They do a prototype. They might do a brochure with it and then bring it forward and present it. That's an example of project-based, right? So those tend to be really very engaging for the students and for the teachers both. And we want it to be something where they're incorporating the math, science, reading, but they're also having a lot of time working together and just being excited about what they're doing. We'll also provide math and reading support. We're going to assess the students to find the levels and of course what they're missing. We're not doing that all day, which is what we've typically done. We're going to have a period to do that and then project-based learning. We also have the social emotional supports. That's a big driving force this year is social emotional. What are we doing for that? So it's integrated. A lot of the team building and working together is part of that. We're going to really work hard on building community. There are activities that are tied to learning that often help kids express themselves in different ways. Talking about classroom responsibilities, group or partner problem solving, there's the teamwork. Celebrating diversity, encouraging reflection and mindfulness, encouraging kindness and empathy, and playing games. Those are just a few of the things that we're adding into this year to make it, to answer those questions and give the kids spaces to feel safe again and more engaged with school. Marianne, do you want to talk a little bit about why we have a focus on social emotional?
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. So, it's been quite a year, right? We've been in this pandemic for a while now, and we want to give our students the space to decompress. And we're at a place where we can provide opportunity to create primary resources. This is a historical event. So giving them a space to talk about what happened, create a project around that, and create a primary resource. We want to get our community involved. We talked about creating art activities where the community can get involved, the students can get involved, and we all can learn from each other about what we've experienced this past year. And we're super excited about being able to add this element of social emotional to our summer programs.
Of course, it'll look different depending on what grade you're in. The littles will probably be working on things like taking turns, showing empathy, talking about their emotions, trying to be mindful and reflective, but that goes all the way up. So depending on what grade level you're in, there will be different activities for that. Then at Shelton High, Choice and Cedar, it's June 21st to July 15th, same day. It's Monday through Thursday, half day. We always have the credit recovery because we want to be able to help our kids get back on track for graduation, right? So if they are missing a couple of science credits and an English credit, they can tackle that using Fuel Ed, which is kind of awesome because they can test through things and they don't have to repeat what they can test out of. So it may only take them, if they're really working on it, a week to finish something that might have taken them 3 months to do before. It is really individual as they come in and get in that program. The other part that we really are going to work on is the social emotional support. Talking about re-engagement, we all know that we have a group of kids out there that just completely disengaged. We haven't been successful getting them back in no matter what we've done. They still are having a hard time engaging. So we want to work with those kids. We're going to use the counselors for that. I'm trying to convince a couple of them to work during this time and to be able to pull small groups or even one-on-one sessions with kids that have issues with the engagement. Part of that would be goal setting, talking about things that were in, barriers for them. Why did you disengage? What can I do to help you? How can I make sure that we wrap some supports around you so that doesn't happen again? How can we get you back on track? Helping the kids see that it's not hopeless, because sometimes once you dig yourself a hole, it's super hard to get out. And during this time, we're hoping that we can get them to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to connect them with resources. We also want to do some very focused work on some of our special populations, the EL students. I worked with our Native American PAC yesterday, and they are also very interested in some putting together some group things. So we don't want this to just be about credit recovery. We want this about re-engaging our students that were having a tough time or need additional support. Then we also have transitions, and these are things that I'm working on right now. Marianne's working with me. These, I'm not completely 100% sure yet on if it's going to be attached to the summer school or later on in August. So for the incoming freshmen, which would be our current eighth graders, going to be freshmen, we want to have some transition activities, introduction to the campuses. One of the suggestions that I really liked was one-on-one meetings for the freshmen with their advisors before school starts, so that they're not sitting in a class of 15. or 20. They actually have one-on-one meetings with them. Connecting with all the resources, because we do have so many resources here, and kids don't often know what's available for them. So if we do more of that outreach and showing them what we have, we're hoping to be able to support them better. Any added supports that we can do as well. The initial idea that I have, but I need to see how many folks are really interested in this, is starting this transition with the smaller group that we have during summer school. And then also maybe the second or third week in August, working together with the high school to actually do an orientation type thing that's bigger than what we normally have done. But that's all in process right now. Still working on bringing in everybody into the picture. The other one that I'm really excited about too is incoming kindergartners, doing either 2 or 3 days or a week in August before they come to help them with transition. It is really, really hard for some of our little pre-Ks, and they're just brand new kindergartners, but they come, some of them haven't been to preschool or even to daycare, those sort of situations. It's hard for them coming in, walking in a line, sitting crisscross applesauce, waiting for your turn, raising your hand, knowing all those little school rules that we take for granted as bigger kids. So working on those with the kindergarten kids, plus the social emotional, we could do some beginning assessments as well. We have Alpha is turning into WIDA, so we can do some WIDA assessments at that time. And I would really like to do it with the kindergarten teachers who are available to do it, so that the kids are actually meeting real kindergarten teachers while they're there. So those are my 2 proposals for the transitions. Penny, do you want to talk about ESY?
Yeah, I think the loudest car in Shelton just came through my office area. So extended school year is actually defined by Washington Administrative Code for what we supply. So it's intended to be a regression or recoupment program for students, and also for those kids who are just about to get a skill or who've just learned a skill, and if we stop, they'll lose it. So it is set up for June 22nd to July 8th. Interviews will be Thursday this week for the extended school year coordinator. This year is going to look a little bit different, though, as far as digging deeper into our IEP teams to decide what students need to have this versus the regular summer school program. What I'm hearing from parents is that loss of socialization. So it could be the summer school program makes more sense than doing an extended school year. But I also saw some super devastating loss today out in buildings on our more medically fragile kids who have lost that muscle tone. They haven't been active. And so those are the kids that typically we would only see little people in extended school year. I think we'll see older kids this year to try and hit that physical loss. We're going to have to hit it pretty hard. So that's where we're at with extended school year for the summer.
I know I went through that pretty quickly, but I didn't want to take too much of your time. Do you have any questions that I can help with? Some things are set, some are not.
Did y'all have any questions of me? Sorry, I felt like I went really fast too.
It's okay. Any questions at all?
How will a student enter the program? Is it an application process? Is it something that parents choose or teachers invite? What happens?
Both, Sandy. So we will be sending out invitations. It's open. So we will have just a registration for it. And typically we take anybody who wants to come. But then we also have teachers who really want to push it with certain kids. Kids that they've worried about that have struggled, or this year I'm sure we'll see a lot that will want kids who they feel like are behind some or haven't connected. They'll want to send those kids. We are doing it in person. Our plans are to do it in person at the moment. I'm pretty sure we will be. We have plenty of space to spread out, and we don't have to worry about as many things during summer school. We are practicing the 3-foot distancing instead of the 6 foot, so that'll be awesome. We'll let you know how that goes. We'll still be screening kids as they come in, but yes, we'll be using just a registration form for the kids. Jenny's is different though.
Mine is through an IEP team process.
Okay.
And that typically is decided all year long, and then reminders go out between myself and the coordinator to get names in of any new ones. And oftentimes people will recommend it and get to June and the parents have decided that, oh, they're socialized enough, we don't really want to do summer. It sounds good all year, and then they back off. So it'll just depend on the family really if they want to attend or not.
Will we be limited in the number of participants, or will we take anybody that wants to?
It's a balancing act to know how many. Sorry, Sandy, I couldn't tell you were in and out. It's a balancing act. So, you don't want to hire too many teachers and then you only have like 3 kids in the classroom. But you don't want to have 15 kids in the classroom either necessarily, because this is summer school and we're trying to do different things with them. So as long as we have room, when we have teachers to teach, we'll take the kids.
Yeah, and for extended school year, we actually know the kids first and then hire the staff we need. So it goes backwards.
Thank you both for the presentation on it. And I think it's going to be so important, especially this year. So just as a school board member, I look forward to hearing how many people end up being in both of your programs, because I know that it's different. Jenny, just when you talk about those things, sometimes I forget just all of the other losses, like you're saying, muscle tone. For some of our students, there's other services that we have not been able to provide those during the pandemic the way they normally would get them. And that's a good reminder that there's a lot of different things going on. And I know that just for my own 2 daughters in school, the socialization has been so important, and I'm glad to hear that. And anything that is more of a hands-on project where they're able to work with others and not be on just a computer individually, I think is really important right now. So thank you for letting me know about how these are. And I look forward to hearing more about how many people. And I know this is always an ever evolving thing, and it's just been such a different school year. So I appreciate the information on it.
Thank you. The project-based learning, sorry, Jenny, the project-based learning is meant to be the hands-on part, Carrie. So, and it is more highly engaging with the students. We don't want to add stress. We want it to be, fun yet productive. So we really are focusing on that this year.
I have another question real quickly. Have we already, will this have any additional impact on the budget? Has this already been budgeted? With COVID, did we anticipate this type of a thing?
So I kind of paused for Brenda, but typically it comes out of state and federal programs. This year, Alex, do you want to talk about the ESSER funds and what we have to do for that?
Well, we have ample funds, thanks to ESSER, thanks to the federal government and the state. We can say at this time we have ample funds to do this kind of work. In fact, some of this money, about 20% of it, is meant for just these types of programs. And just very quickly, I just want to say that I know that some of these pieces that were mentioned this evening are taking place in our schools right now. I would hope that we could extend a number of the things that have been mentioned this evening for all schools, for all grades to participate in, especially at the very beginning of the school year. Really dealing with the social emotional types of issues to make sure that our students are okay, and then you dive into the academics. This is something we've talked about, and something that we're going to continue to talk about for another week or two, but I would like to see a lot of the things that have been mentioned tonight go across the board, especially in maybe the first couple weeks of school. We have, for example, those students that are going into the 10th grade. they haven't had a very good year this year. And supporting them in some fashion, I think, would be very, very important. So it's a system-wide. It's not only the kindergartners or the students going into the 9th grade. We need to look at this in terms of our entire system, all of our students, especially in relation to the fall.
I forgot to mention, thank you, Alex, for bringing up the 10th graders. We have a bunch of 10th graders who have not been in that building yet. They've all been online. So particularly for those kids who want to come back, move off 100% and back into the school, we definitely need to treat them as this is their first time going through too. And it needs to be a big deal for them and to have just as many wraparound services as well.
So Sandy, for the extended school year program, that's typically budgeted anyway into my special ed budget every year. However, we should be able to get safety net back on some of those students in a typical year, but this year we can't even apply for it for the students that are within our district. We applied for extended school year services for those kids that are at self-contained day schools, but for the ones that we just serve in district this year, we wouldn't be able to. They didn't meet the threshold.
Jenny, are special needs students, are some of them going more than a few days a week, or how are the services looking for them currently? I don't know if you may have talked about this before, but there's always so much going on. I was just curious what kind of services they are receiving.
Yeah, so we have some students that are going up to 4 days a week. We don't have any that are crossing into that 5th day, just to make sure our buildings stay clean between the two cohorts. But we do have some programs and some specific students that are going 4 days. So it became IEP Team Decisions whether or not they went all 4 days or 2 days or 3 days.
Okay. Thank you.
And I have some, even as of today, hey, can we move this kid up to 4 days? And they're going to do it for the rest of the year. So yes, it's been ongoing. What do the students need?
So ongoing and individualized to what they need. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And like Jenny said, if the kiddos, if the general summer school is better for them, then that's the one that they'll go to. It doesn't, 504 IEP, we cover it all. So we'll be working on that.
All right, other questions or comments for Kelly, Jenny, and Marianne? All right, well, thank you very much for that report. And we will move on to item 4.04, which is the Shelton High School graduation update with Mr. Kipper.
Good morning, good evening, I guess it is. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Apostle, thank you for this opportunity to share where we're at with our graduation. Currently, Robert Heron and I are in contact with the county health department to make sure that our plan meets the guidelines. Robert and I have sat down on a couple of occasions and gone through the guidelines to make sure that what we're planning meets those. So we're currently planning an in-person graduation with a backup plan for a drive-through, depending on, one, what happens with the virus, and two, what would happen with weather, possibly. We have been communicating with our families through Skyward email and through our social media accounts. So right now, we're supposed to meet today with Robert, myself, and Marianne Marshall, but we were still waiting for some information from the county health department, so we pushed that off to tomorrow. We're currently planning to have 2 ceremonies on June 5th. Students are signing up. I just checked like 10 minutes ago when Kelly was going through some things, and we're expecting right around 300 graduates. There's about 269 that have signed up currently for one or the other ceremonies. The first ceremony would be at 11 a.m. and the second ceremony would be at 3 p.m. We would clean the seats and the chairs between ceremonies. We're allowing graduates to choose which ceremony they want to go to so they can attend with their friends if they want to. I've said all along that the goal is to have an in-person. I think it's important that our students and our graduates in particular end their high school career on campus and do it together. It's a tradition that's been in high schools for 150 years. And I know that it's been done in Shelton in the past. But I am concerned about the virus right now and the numbers. The numbers seem to be going up. Right now, we believe we can seat at each ceremony, each graduate to have 4 tickets. We're trying to increase that to 6. And that's the reason why we're having extended conversations with the county health department. So while I wish I could give you concrete, this is what we're doing, we still have 2 plans right now. And so we need to get that wrapped up. And so I'm hoping by the end of the week, we can get final word from the county health department and get some, but we have been presenting this information to our families since our first email to families went out at the beginning of March. And at that point, we had 3 plans. We were still had St. Martin's as an option at that point, along with Shelton High School and along with the drive-through. And then on March 15th, we did not make the metrics to have the St. Martin's ceremony, so that went off the table, and that put us down to the 2 options. We sent another email out on, I believe it was around March 26th, to our families and our graduates, our seniors, letting them know we were down to 2 options and asking for feedback and input. And then on April 1st, I sent an email out specifically to our seniors and our families of our seniors with the 2 plans, how we were going to do tickets, how many tickets, as well as the drive-through option, and specifically asked for feedback to come directly to me. And then in that April 1st email, there was direction that on April 1st, in the April 1st email, there was direction that April 15th, the state was going to update their guidelines and that we would be sending out additional information. The metrics did not change on April 15th. So on April 19th, I sent out another email to our families listing the guidelines for the in-person ceremony, the 2 ceremonies on Saturday, June 5th, with a backup of the drive-through depending on weather and the direction of the virus.
All right. Questions or comments for Bruce?
I do have a question, if I may.
Yeah, you bet.
How many emails did you send out for input from families?
We've sent out 4 so far.
And how many responses have you received?
The total. So I've specifically sent out 2 emails, and then first of all, I want to thank Heather King and Alicia Glenn. They are our coordinators for graduation, and they've been working nonstop to try to put together multiple options and make plans for multiple options. They started the communications in March, and then for the 2, I sent one out April 15th and April 19th. I got a total of 2 emails in return. I got none from students, and I got 2 from families. One wanted a drive-through and one wanted it in person.
Okay.
And since then, I've talked to several other families that I see at sporting events, or I see it in the morning when they're dropping their kids off, and it is split. I mean, there's no doubt there are families that like the drive-through, and it worked last year. But we've been working really hard all year, and I've heard the governing board, and I've heard other administrators say that we're working to get our kids back on campus, and we're working to get in-person experiences for our kids. And we have many families that want that experience for their student before they leave high school. And so we're working as hard as we can to make it happen while still following the guidelines. But I will say I am concerned about the virus. I mean, the numbers are not going in the right direction. And so that's why Robert has been in contact with the county health department, and it's certainly a strong factor in the decision that we'll make in the end.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yep.
Other questions for Bruce?
Hi, Bruce. Thank you for that. I apologize. I had some technical difficulties and had to log back on. So I missed kind of a little bit in the middle, but I guess I just wanted to make a couple comments, and then I have one question. But, you know, last year my son graduated, and I can recall there being a lot of controversy over a drive-through graduation, and myself included. He was one of the valedictorians, and I thought, how is this going to be special for him? And there were just a lot of people against that, and it ended up being a really wonderful experience. And so I guess, you know, when I've talked with some parents who are concerned about that, want a drive-through graduation, you know, I'm just encouraging them to be open-minded, because it's really what you make of it. And so I think that, you know, the biggest concern that I'm hearing is that 4 tickets is really tough. And that, you know, and last year that was an issue too. We could only have 1 car. And so when you have split families, how do you make that work, you know? And so I guess, you know, just a reminder that we are still in a pandemic. These things are not going to be what we totally expect, but let's make the best of them. But you know, and I know that you are working to see if there's a way to expand the number of tickets, and I really appreciate that effort. I think that would make a huge difference for families. You know, 4 tickets is really tough. But I know we've also had that same restriction, even when we had, you know, limited seating at St. Martin's. We've had to limit tickets. So it's definitely something that, you know, I think it's important that we work really hard to try to accommodate for our kids during this pandemic, but it's tough. And then my only other question is, because I think I missed it, you know, there was a note that we were going to have a survey go out, because I think that's the other piece, is that the families just really wanted to be heard as well, and the kids. And so I didn't know whether that had happened or.
Well, I am not sure where there was no note sent from me that said we were having a survey.
Okay.
I think what the confusion is that on April 1st, in my email, I specifically asked families to email me to reply to my email, and I would get it directly, and they could provide input on which option they like best, or other ideas even at that point. And I made a comment that the state was going to update their guidance on April 15th. And at that point, we would provide another update once that new guidance came out. So April 15th was a Thursday, and the state did not provide any new update. So on April 16th, one of our graduation coordinators called the state and asked if they were going to put out the new update. And then we were told that there was no changes to the guidance. So on April 19th, I sent which was Monday, I sent the email out to families, letting them know where we were at that point.
Okay.
And Lynn, I must say I may have misspoke, because I don't know the exact date, but I think you asked the question if we were going to survey the families, and I said, yes, I believe we're going to survey the families, when in fact it wasn't actually a survey, it was an email.
Okay.
So I just wanted to clarify that, and that would be my mistake, because I misinterpreted what was going to actually be sent out. It wasn't an actual survey, it was a request for information. So I'm sorry about that.
If I could just share just I know that board meetings can run long sometimes, but if I could just share one quick story about a student that contacted me about graduation. This was after the April 19th email. One of our, I believe we're going to have about 6 valedictorians. One of the students contacted me and was concerned about not having a drive-through and having in-person and not being able to accommodate her entire family and extended family and friends and those type of things. And she was very sweet, very respectful, very well spoken. And she even listed pros and cons for both plans. So she listed pros and cons for a drive-through and pros and cons for an in-person. And I responded to her and one, thanked her for taking the time to put that much energy into it. And then 2, explained why I felt it was important that we try to get the kids on campus for their last moment in high school to be together. Even though it's 2 ceremonies, they still can be together with their friends. And she replied back and said, I completely misunderstood. I understand where you're coming from, and I will be happy to be at both ceremonies to speak. And so it just, and I thanked her for like, this just shows that 2 people can disagree respectfully and still come to some kind of an agreement. And I think it was a very good learning lesson for both of us, to be honest with you. I learned a lot from her emails and her perspective, and I think she learned a lot from mine and from where we were coming from as a school. And so I just thought I just wanted to share that with you, to the group. So.
I also had technical difficulties and got kicked out and had to come back on. So I missed some, just a few things, but I wanted some clarification. Will the ceremony be on the football field and the stadium utilized? Is that where this ceremony would be?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And then I was looking up the guidelines from the Department of Health for the state of Washington on graduations. It's my understanding that it looks like it's capped at 200 people total then for our facility?
No. Yeah, no. So there's 2 parts to that. And the first part is what we can hold in the bleacher, like in the stadium bleachers. And that's about 400. So, and then they have also what they call like like what I would call non-traditional seating areas, like decks, grass berms, patios, and our track would fall into that category. So we're actually looking at putting people on the track and around the graduates on the field also. And for those non-traditional seating areas, you can have 6 people for every 100 square feet. Now, 100 square feet sounds like a big area. It's 10 by 10. And when you actually mark it on the track, there's a lot of 10 by 10 areas in that stadium. And that's where Robert and I are working with the health department to try to expand from 4 tickets to 6 tickets.
Yeah, and these are the things that the health department just wants to go through exactly what those areas will look like, what kind of separation we'll have. And and also they're concerned that there could be a rollback to phase 2. And so they want to all the different scenarios and so forth and how we get there, just so that there's a comfort level and we're doing something that is as safe as possible.
Thank you. There's all these different things written about capacities and facility size. And so I appreciate that you're working together with the health department to find out exactly what we can do and understand that, again, with this pandemic, as things go up or down, the situation can change.
And believe me, I read those guidelines like every day because sometimes I can't believe what I'm reading. Sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, this is going to work, So it's a daily read for me.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Bruce.
And so part of that decision in that 10 by 10 space will be whether it's chairs or it's some sort of bleachers or risers or.
It will have to be chairs.
Chairs. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Alrighty. And something laid down to protect the track, I suppose.
one of the parts of things is we're evaluating this is working with the manufacturer of the track to make sure that what we're planning to do is going to be will not of course damage the track or hurt our warranty.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Awesome. And the same with the football field. We've contacted the manufacturer to make sure that we're putting the proper things underneath, like the stage and stuff, to make sure we don't damage the field.
Thank you.
And that was very exciting to hear that we have 6 valedictorians. So that's fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Bruce. Appreciate the report. So moving on to item 4.05, which is the March budget status update with Brenda.
Good evening. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, as I'm just going to start out with general fund. As you can see, general fund is low this month. This is typically our lowest month of the year. Normally, we do have something playing a factor into this year. We've talked numerous times about the lack of transportation funding this year. That is what is happening here to our fund balance. The last payment we received for transportation from the state was in January. Typically for February, we would have received almost $260,000, and then in March, it would have been about $271,000. So that's about $527,000 that is not sitting in our fund balance right now due to them not funding transportation right now. The good news is I've been going through the budget that was released on Sunday, and there is transportation stabilization funding in the supplemental budget for this year. So it looks like they will be reinstating back up to the level we were at initially at the beginning of the year. We were a little over $3 million, and all we've received is $1.2 million. So that's good news for us. I'm not sure the timing of when we'll receive that money. I'm waiting for further details through OSPI for that, but that is what has played into our fund balance. I just want to reassure you, we are still in a good fiscal position. April is tax collection month. I called today to find out what our tax collections were, and they're coming in very strong. So, and all of that money will go directly into the investment fund, into the fund balance this month. So just want to reassure you, we're still in good shape there. Capital projects fund, we went up a little bit in March. We received a small state match payment. We still have a little bit hanging out there with some final billings. So we are at $703,000 in our capital project fund at the end of March. And then debt service fund, of course, we're building that up again to do the June 1st bond payment. So you'll see a big increase in April, but we ended March at a little over $1 million. Associated Student Body Fund stayed pretty much the same with March. I think there was about a $2 differential from February. So we're a little over $443,000 there. Transportation Vehicle Fund, we're just drawing interest on that right now. We do have the new bus that we will be getting that Holly talked to you about at the last board meeting through the Department of Ecology. And then she does have another bus on order too. So we are at $250,994 there. And then our private purpose trust fund, we are drawing interest on all three of those right now. Drake Scholarship is $208,511. Mike Johnson Memorial, $5,472. And Volk Memorial, $25,692. So that is our March budget status for this month. Do you have any questions on it?
No questions, but a comment. It seems like every year we see, several examples of why it's good to have a healthy fund balance, because it really helps carry us through times like this. When you made this budget last year, there was things you didn't know. You didn't know these issues were going to pop up. And, it's just makes sense to have a little bit extra to cover these unknown things and contingencies. And So thank you for preparing the budget you did before.
Thank you.
I've had something I've been curious about.
Okay.
And it's, well, some on budget, but also on a something we were doing for our new spaces at the high school and at Mountain View. I was on the committee for the art projects, and we were meeting into the pandemic and then kind of just ceased. So I'm wondering if those funds are on hold, and you know, where do we sit with that project that I'm assuming got put on hold because of the pandemic? We were still trying to push on, but wondering what happens there if we actually got those funds, or if they're on hold at OSPI, or how do we look at, you know, re-energizing that whole project when we can.
I can answer that question.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I need Robert to, he was leading that, so.
Yeah, Sally, that process is continuing. It did slow down. We were at a natural long break right when the pandemic hit, where the artists were hired and they came out and did their field review, and then they were going to go back for a 9-month period where they go and work on design ideas and so forth that they would bring back to the committees. And so that's where that phase is still happening, and it's been extended, and that funding is still in place. Marissa Lobsher, who is the project manager for the state that runs the project, is still in charge. In fact, there was a meeting on March 31st with the artist to come back out and look at ways that he would scaffold and set up for the areas that he wanted to work in, and met with a scaffolding contractor. So those things are still continuing. I believe that probably very late in the school year or early summer, the committees will be reconvened when the artists have their everything put together that they want to present as potential options. And so you'll be contacted as a committee member, and all the others ones as well, as soon as we have more information about timeline and date. But yeah, so during the pandemic, things did slow down for certain, but it is still going.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments about the March budget report? All right, thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
All right, item 5, consent agenda. Usual things, a little shorter consent agenda than we normally have. Is there any discussion or a motion around the consent agenda?
I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, consent agenda has passed. So moving on to item 6, which is discussion and action items, which we do not have any tonight. So we will just move on past 6 and move on to 7, which is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Sally. Well, this week is a very important week. It's Teacher Appreciation Week, and I obviously can't thank our teachers enough for what they've done for over a year, meeting all challenges, supporting our students, dealing with adversity, being very strong in dealing with this unprecedented event that we're all dealing with. They're doing a terrific job. I appreciate them. We're going to do something special for them on Thursday. I talked with a few people, and we have a few things planned for Thursday as a kind of a special treat for all of our teachers. But at the same time, I can't say enough about our classified staff and our principals, assistant principals, counselors. It's taken a huge effort to bring us to this point where we are today. So Teacher Appreciation Week, if you see a teacher, congratulate them and please thank them for a job well done. In preparation for the fall, I want our students, staff, and families to know we are preparing for 3 different budgets for the 21-22 school year. One, of course, will be for in-person learning, and we know how to do that. The second is we're constructing a budget for a hybrid model, and of course, the all online model. So we're preparing for anything that might happen in the fall. I can tell you, based on a meeting today with Superintendent Reichdahl, there is no question that we want to start school in person in the fall. So if the pandemic can be controlled, our goal in the Shelton School District, as well as school districts across the state, will be to open with in-person instruction. But we're not in total control of that pandemic. And so what we're doing in terms of program and budget, we're planning for 3 different possible options. And we'll be informing you of our progress on each one of those areas as we move forward. We also are developing additional training for each one of these models so that our staff is prepared regardless of what may happen in the fall. And I'm working closely with Kelly and Marianne and with our ESD to make sure that we have appropriate training for our staff in preparation for school opening in the fall. I'm very excited about conducting all of our end of the year ceremonies and activities, from our most inspiring student award program and moving on ceremonies to graduation. This is a very exciting time of the year. We've all been through many challenges, and we deserve to celebrate the end of the 2021 school year. So, and it's real close, and we're very close to the end of the school year, with a lot of excitement going on, and with a lot of planning, and with a lot of hope for the future. I'm very thankful for the federal government and the state giving us the money to do what we need to do to support our kids. Without those resources, we would have been in serious trouble, and they knew it, and they came through. So I would say the 21-22 school year is going to be a very successful school year, and we're going to do the best we can to provide the new superintendent with the best possible program for the Shelton School District and our students. I thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So we come to that next section of the meeting where we have another opportunity for community comment. If you are interested in making community comment at this time, please raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone. I'll give a few seconds if anybody would like to make comment to raise their hand. All right, so seeing no one interested in community comments, we'll go ahead and move on to board member comments. Sandy, you are at the top of my list tonight. Would you like to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Yes, I would like to recognize the teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week as well. Their job is invaluable, and as Alex mentioned, so is all of the support staff that goes along with that. So, we could expand it from Teacher Appreciation Week to Education Appreciation Week. So, and other than that, I just want to say I have confidence that our numbers are going to turn around and start to decline. And I'm just going to hang on to that. And we'll see where that takes us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sandy. Carrie, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I would love to go. First of all, I just want to say I'm really excited about the Med Academy, and it was wonderful to have Sierra Pacific, offer that donation. My husband and I drove past the high school this week on the way to pick up my daughter from her soccer game, and we saw the beginnings of the progress that started there. And my husband looked at me and he said, "Are they doing something with the parking lot here?" And I thought, I'm probably not doing a very good job of communicating what's happening there if my own husband doesn't know. So, it is really exciting that program and that building's getting started. I'm just really excited to see that develop and to just be offering another way to engage our students with local opportunities. I think that's just fantastic. I want to highlight just some teachers that I get to personally see, and that's all of the teachers there at OMS. I've got 2 daughters in school, so I have my own personal experience with what's happening during this pandemic. And my youngest daughter, last week on Friday, she looked at me and she said, "I just really wish it was Wednesday." And I said, "Why do you wish it was Wednesday?" And she said, "Because then I'd be going to school again tomorrow." So she's loving what they're doing at OMS, and that school, whether it's the leadership or the teachers, they made the decision not to have them bring their Chromebooks to school, and they're doing, hands-on science projects, and they're doing math lessons. And I don't know everything that they're doing, but she specifically talks about her, Team Maple and all of the things that they're doing to help her really enjoy school. And so it's nice to see that. I really appreciate just all the hard work and effort that's going into our students during this time and making them feel excited about being at school. And like Sandy, I have a lot of hope that these vaccine numbers are going to turn around. We are seeing that creep up in our community, and that does cause some concern. And I know that it's a personal decision, but if people are wanting vaccinations, I do want to let our community know that they are readily available in our community, whether that's at one of the local pharmacies or through Mason Health. And they have vaccines that are indicated for people age 16 and above. So if you haven't or you're reconsidering, these are not, you no longer have to wait in a big line. You can go out to the state site or to any of the local pharmacies' websites and actually see appointments for tomorrow. They are available. So just wanted to let people know that in case they did not realize that, because this situation is always changing and you no longer have to wait in big lines or try to, find ways to sign up. And if people need help, there's definitely people out there to help out with that. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Sally B.
Well, I don't have a lot to say tonight. Just it's kind of surreal to think that we started this pandemic thing last spring, but we've had an entire school year under these conditions. And I'm looking forward to see the different options and plans. We only have about 6 weeks left in this school year. So lots of end of the year wrap up. And I've been working with a senior, and she's excited about graduation. She came over to do a small task last evening to my home, and she ended up spending just 3 hours just visiting with me about how it's been. And I'll tell you, I have great hope for our community, because we have amazing young people that whatever background that they're coming from, or whether it's been the pandemic or any other kinds of hardships, we have some very, very resilient young people that, even though we as adults I'm hoping that we're not laying some of this on them, because we're so concerned that things aren't as normal and whatever, but there is a great resiliency there. They have great hope and are looking at what's coming next. Yeah, they are grieving the loss of ceremonies and things like that, but still they're going, but this is the way it is, and so this is what we'll do. So I just appreciate our young people and all those people that work with them day to day and support where they're at. So just a big thanks to everybody. And we have to look at this sometimes too historically. We say, oh, we've always had, everything always hasn't been the same. There have been a lot of things historically, whether it was World War II or it was disruptions for natural disasters or this or that. And we get through it. So I want to think that we have lots of hope. And like people say, be diligent and get this pandemic past us, but we will we'll carry on. So thank you.
Thanks, Sally. All right, Lynn.
Thank you. Well said, Sally B. That the word resilience was something that I was going to bring up as well. This has been quite a year. I was just looking at the calendar, and it's coming up on a year of me being in this appointed position. And I appreciate my fellow board members and staff and everybody for all of your support for me coming on, not really knowing much about the operations of a school district, and then going in straight into pandemic and how do we. So it's been quite a challenging year, but it's been extremely rewarding, and I've just really enjoyed working with all of you. I wanted to say about teachers, I've always had an appreciation for teachers because I know it's not a job I could do. But especially this year, I just can't even imagine. And, the teachers that I know, they're just doing it. They're just making it happen. And it's just so awesome. And that's part of that resilience, I think, that Sally was talking about. And the same thing with our kids. Can't believe we're talking about graduation and fall plans. And, Bo's, my youngest is finishing his first year at UW and planning on next year, and it's just a bizarre time that we're in, and definitely we have come through this with resilience, and I think we should all take a minute and reflect on and how far we have come in this last year, because it's pretty awesome.
All right, thank you, Lynn, and thank you too for all that you've done in the last year. It's been I know a challenging year for you to come on the board and jump right into everything we were having to do in terms of pandemic. So I was thinking about that the other day, that you have been a part of the board for a year, and it seems much longer than that at the same time. It's been a pleasure to get to work with you. So a couple things, just reminders, community forum this week on Thursday at 6, I believe. Alex is nodding at me at 6. And we've been working on getting the superintendent's contract hammered out. We've agreed to terms, and now it's just the back and forth about this word and that kind of stuff. So I was hoping we would have it to approve tonight, but there is a chance we may need to call a special meeting next week so we can get that taken care of. So just maybe sort of keep that on your horizons, fellow board members, just in case we need to do that, or maybe it'll be first meeting in May. We'll just sort of see how that all shakes out. So we do not have need for an executive session tonight. So moving on to item 11, which is adjournment. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.